Just 10, 15 minutes just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine.
All right. And here we go. Thank you so much for joining me. I know it's a Friday afternoon and, it's been a busy day, but I really appreciate your time just meeting with me so we can talk about aggressive monitoring. We have really been on a journey as far as for you relaunching what aggressive monitoring is with show call, and then for our new teachers it was a launch for the first time. They may have heard about it but not really understanding the true nuances of it or the why behind it or how it can truly be a game changer when implemented with fidelity.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear from you about your experience this go round since you've had previous training on it. You're our 4-year veteran in second grade. You're our team lead. And so just kind of hearing from you as far as what you experienced this time.
Yeah, I really think our rollout was really smooth and effective in terms of the clarity of what was kind of expected with us. And I think each meeting that we've had, we've just continued to refine our aggressive monitoring strategies. And even for me, I know the last time we met, we talked about success criteria, and that was another aha moment of okay, my laps are not just checking for your work I want to see, but these are the steps that you should be taking in order for students to achieve mastery. So I really just think we've just continued to refine our practice, and it's been really smooth, and I think my teammates have felt supported in the implementation of us doing this as well.
Good. And I know I want to hear some things that you've done intentionally to support your team with continued implementation. I'll talk about some things that I've done. So I have gone in and observed your aggressive monitoring in action and recorded you in action and shared that video. Thank you for your permission to do that with the team. So again, to kind of build capacity in them. And then I know that we had a bit of a challenging moment when we were about to hit record for that session. So tell me what you were feeling in that moment.
When you came in and recorded my class,
Right.
It was just we really struggled that lesson, I think, and so I was wondering if I even wanted to aggressively monitor. And I was like, this is not if I'm supposed to be the exemplar for my team, and I know this is not a lesson that's going well, and I don't even know if I want to aggressively monitor, because I've personally, in my feelings, I felt like my students weren't understanding it. So I was like, I don't want the rest of my team to see me out here struggling. But I am glad that you had ahead and was like, no, I know the lesson is going really well. And you and I had chatted about some misconceptions that I had noticed throughout just the lesson in general. And we were like, okay, this is going to help. This is going to inform our data, essentially, that we know this is a misconception. If this is for sure a misconception, it'll show in the aggressive monitor and on their exit ticket. And so I am appreciative that you went ahead and had me do the aggressive monitoring, because as I was aggressively monitoring, yes, it was a misconception, but not as big of a misconception as I thought it was. And so I was still doing the laps, announcing what we should, be doing in order to be successful in the exit ticket, and most of my class actually ended up understanding it. So I was like, okay, I'm glad we did this. Right. And then I know through that experience too, it was good getting feedback on myself that I was giving too much feedback to my kids, because I know I was always stressed about the pacing for aggressive monitoring, because I was like, this is not a quick process. Everyone is telling me it's quick.
Right.
And it's because I was getting holed up on one student,
Right.
Basically turning one student into a mini small group and just ignoring the other 20 students.
Right. So let's talk about that. Let's unpack that for just a minute, because I know you were going around, you were giving the feedback, and again, you noticed, and I think too, in reflection of watching the video, oh my goodness, I see what I'm doing here. Yeah. So it was great because we're all growing in the process, right? And so I know in that moment, I challenged you to switch gears from just giving feedback to individual students to doing a show call. Yeah. So let's talk about that when you launched the show call.
When I did that, my students really enjoyed it. And I had kind of done show call sometimes, but not in the way that we wanted to roll out this aggressive monitor with a show call. You show the work, you have students get their independent think time, and then they turn and talk, and then we share with the class. Like, it was more of a, here's the work, now let's talk as a class. What does everyone think? Like, what do you like about this? What do you like? How can they improve? So the show call with this strategy that we did, I think really improved my student engagement, because one, there was intentional time for students to just be sitting and thinking and looking at the student work that's up on the board. And then they love to chat, so talking to themselves before they shared with the class, like, I gave them a lot of talk time, and the entire talk time they were talking about the student work, and they just kept going and going and going. And so even like now when I do the show call, they're like, man, I want to keep talking. And I'm like, that's great. I want to hear what you're talking about. Like, the rest of the class wants to hear what you're talking about. And so let's continue this conversation as a whole class. And they get really excited when I show off people's work, and everyone's like, can you show mine? Can you show mine?
Right.
But yeah.
So let's talk about that, a show call versus what you were doing of giving small mini lessons. How do you think that impacted the student achievement or learning in your class for that day?
I think it's improved it a lot because, one, I think students just learn better from themselves. So they're able to see how another student has utilized what I've taught themselves and then try to apply it. I know, and I just started this this week after the feedback you gave me, because you had told me, okay, you did the show call now, but give them time to look at their own work and see what matches from the exemplar student work to their own work, and maybe seeing like, okay, how can I change my own work to match to the exemplar? I started doing that this week, and what I had my students do is, okay, if you had the same thing as so and so had, put a check mark or a star or a happy face, like put something that you see that's the same in yours, or if you see something that you want to change in your own work, go ahead and change that now. And so I had them do that, and I feel like my data on my exit tickets have been significantly better since I started doing that. Yeah.
I love
I was very excited about
that. Is music to my ears. And you talked about some of the feedback that I've given you guys, and I know one of the pieces, and I try to give bite-sized feedback as I'm, walking and observing aggressive monitoring action. And again, we honed in specifically on math.
Yeah.
I'm secretly hoping that's also going to transfer into our reading instruction, but we're being very intentional about math right now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of the pieces of feedback that I gave, and that was to post the laps on the board, not on a slide, because again, you might advance the slides and then they lose the success criteria.
Yeah.
So what do you think was the value in that, or how did you feel when you received that feedback?
Well, at first I was like, you're giving me something more to do.
One more thing.
Stop putting things on my plate, please, and thank you.
Nitpicking, right?
Yeah, but you converted me. I'm a believer in posting my laps now. And so
Why?
Because my students hold themselves accountable. Like, I post it, but even then what I started doing is, as I'm teaching the lesson, I'm writing the lap number on the board. So I'm like, okay, class, the first step is we're gonna underline the important information and remember a problem. And I write it on the board. Number 1, underline important information. Okay, the second step, we should have our number bond, we should have our strip diagram, bam, right on the board. Step 3, we should be showing our work, right on the board. Step 4, did I get the correct answer, check my work, whatever. And since I've been intentional of posting the laps while I'm teaching, students are looking at the steps as they're trying to do it on their own, as like to remember, but also hold themselves accountable. So I think that's another way that I think my data has improved, because I can see, okay, they're hitting all the steps of all the things that will help them to master the content. Yeah.
So I love that. So you took the feedback I gave you and you updated it, or you upgraded it even more so to say, now I'm going to do it as I'm teaching, because that's not what I said to do.
No.
And you took that upon yourself, thinking, okay, I think this would be helpful to my students to really clarify what that expectation is. Yeah. So stamping that along the way.
Yeah, well, I did that because in one of our PLC meetings, we had been discussing the trackers and like, okay, I've written my laps, now I can be intentional on how I should be teaching my lesson. So I was like, I should just, instead of writing the laps at the end of the lesson to be like, hey guys, this is what I'm checking for, I might as well write down the steps as I'm teaching it. That way it's there the entire lesson. I can be referencing it in case someone gets stuck during like the guided practice portion of our lesson. And then when it's time for independent practice, it's there. I can reference it. Hey guys, as I'm walking around, remember the 4 steps to solve this problem is XYZ. And then I'm referencing it as I'm walking around and saying it out loud to the kids. And then if they get stuck, they look up at the laps and it's like, okay, that's what I need to do next. And then they do it.
So much. This is like music to my ears. I'm so happy to hear this. So I'm thinking too, like, how can we continue the support? I know that the other 2 people that were on our team as we collaborated and really thought up, this is the strategy that we want to implement and take to scale for our particular grade level here in 2nd grade. So we have a novice teacher who is just, certified this year, passed the last test. We have a teacher that's a veteran teacher, but this is her first time teaching 2nd grade, right? Yeah. So let's talk about support for them. What are some things that you've done as a team lead to kind of support them as they're implementing aggressive monitoring with show call?
To support them, we've been trying to get on the same page with our laps, making sure that as a team, all of our laps are the same, our success criteria and all of that. As well as I'll do check-ins with them. Hey, how is it going? The last time we met, we said we were going to be posting our laps. Did you post your laps last time? And just kind of getting like feelers, like check-ins with them to see how they're doing and get their thoughts. That way I know we're all kind of all on the same, they're on the same page and not getting overwhelmed.
Right.
And so if they are getting overwhelmed from my, listening in on our check-ins, then I can give additional support.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking too, like along the way too, we have kind of changed our PLC protocol. So now for a look forward PLC, we're including a no-show chart. And part of that no-show chart could also include a success criteria or a rough draft of one. So I know that's something that you as a grade level are collaborating with. You're collaborating together. You're creating one no-show chart for the standard that we'll be unpacking during PLC. Yeah. So let's talk about that process and how you can utilize that to support the success criteria, which again, we've discussed will inform your laps. Those are your laps.
Those are your laps, yeah. I think collaborating on the no-show chart and making sure that we're getting on the same page with our success criteria before the lesson is going to be a lot, it's going to be more helpful, because I know in our last PLC, we were trying to analyze our student data, but not everyone's laps were the same, but as a grade level, as we were discussing, we were like, oh, the success criteria is actually not like the same. Like how we want our students to show mastery is not matching what we were doing in our laps. But then it was frustrating because it was like, okay, we can't analyze our student data now because our laps and our student criteria don't match. And so changing up our PLC to making sure that in our no-show chart, we're going to be thinking a little bit more intentional about what our success, why is that word so tricky? Success criteria is like specifically listed in there. That way we can collaborate on it in PLC. Will help us be on the same page, and then will help us analyze the data afterwards a lot better.
And I think that was very informative for me too, as the coach here. Just as I'm reflecting, as I'm working with all the grade levels during PLC, thinking, oh, success criteria is really an area that we've struggled with.
Yeah.
And so I think as I'm talking with other grade levels as well, and I want us to talk and think about how we can take this to scale across the campus, has been an eye opener for them. Because I've seen that teachers have begun to, on multiple grade levels, have begun discussing laps, and they're attempting the laps, and the laps that I've seen are not necessarily aligned. At the same time, I've been applauding them and saying great job, because they're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And they're trying to be intentional the best way that they can to aggressively monitor. But I'm thinking now, I'm seeing through this lens, okay, we need to refine this practice here. Yeah. So I've been drilling down to that success criteria during PLCs with even them. So I want to talk about the longevity of what we've started here as a kind of a grassroots, I think, with second grade, how we can take that to scale across the campus. And so I want you to kind of tell me, for me, I would love to utilize your team, you guys, to really launch that because you've lived it.
Yeah.
And because again, as our 4-year veteran team lead, you've been trained on this before in the past. So I don't want to deliver it as something we've already heard this before. It's just one more thing to do, because even you said you had the ahas this time,
Yeah.
and now you're a believer,
Yeah.
right? Because you're seeing it's working and it's impacting not only the engagement, but the behaviors, the student accountability,
Yeah.
the autonomy, all the things,
Yeah.
the benefits of it. So what are your thoughts as far as taking this to scale for the entire campus and letting them hear and experience that for themselves?
I think for next year, this should be like one of our back to school PDs. I think would be beneficial. I don't mind like sharing. We could even share my video again as an example. And I think the team, we can, share our thoughts on the process and explain how we did it. And I think, teachers, they get more buy-in if they get the information from teachers typically. So having us, like I can present with my team and go over the aggressive monitoring and like co-present with you. And I think that would be good for one of our back to school PDs.
I think when a teacher hears it from another teacher,
Yeah.
it definitely carries more weight,
Yeah.
right? And you have more credibility with them because
Yeah.
you can say, this is where I was, I implemented, and this is where I am now.
Yeah.
And the student achievement as well for our data to show that. And I think that will be what's going to be the fuel to take it campus wide.
Yeah.
So I think you guys are going to be pivotal in it. I want to come in and record you again.
Yeah.
And really because of my camera skills, I come in and that process because I felt like I was spinning around all over. So I definitely want to come and record you again and revisit it. And it's something that's not going to stop this week. This is something that we're going to take it to the end of the year, and I want us to think long term for next year too, to keep the momentum going, because there's already buzz. Other teachers are noticing, what is she doing over there with the second grade team? I see that they're working on a project. I see that they're talking about aggressive monitoring. I see that they're bringing their trackers to PLC, and so they're already beginning to wonder what's happening with us. So I want that curiosity to grow, and I want them to see, so they're going to be, I think, more embracing.
Yeah, that'd be cool at the beginning of the school year to be like, look, we were working on this as a project. Like, we wanted to see how it would improve engagement and our student data. This is what we found. Like, this is what we would like to do at the campus. And I think that would be really beneficial.
I agree, and I think this team was a perfect team to do it because there's like a sampling, a 4-year veteran, a brand new novice teacher, and a 30-year veteran, but brand new to second grade.
Yeah.
So, and she was good as far as bringing that vertical alignment, but
But even then, like I've been, like you said, I've been trained on aggressive monitoring before, but not to this extent. And with this levels of strategies, like posting the laps and being clear on the success criteria. And I had never really gotten feedback on my aggressive monitoring before, so this has been really beneficial for me. So I think talking about like, okay, this is how we've been trained before. Now this is the project that we've been doing. I think will be good for the campus overall to talk about.
Yay, I'm excited. Go team. On 3, 1, 2, 3, go team. Thank you.